Um, Basically, I wanted to make another one.
Around here looks portal-ish.
Hmm.
Figure that monster guard smashed the only exit. Wherever the other guys wound up, they better have more to go on than this.
Sorry, I keep getting distracted by the talking. This is a character I've never actually played as before.
Excuse me, sir. I think you dropped something.
Um, anyway, in my last episode, I was talking about how lost I was. And I can safely say that hasn't quite gotten any better, except for I've decided on a path. I'm still not sure if it's the right one, but I've decided on one. So I am making steps forward. I've decided that I am going to pursue pilot school. Um, I'm going to...
Getting in the groove. Talking to myself. Always a great sign. It does feel like somebody's listening. Not sure I dig that.
Yeah, this character keeps distracting me. I'm going to pursue pilot school. Because when it comes down to it, even if it's not what I want to be doing forever, I do enjoy flying. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Congratulations, asshole. You just made the shit list.
And as far as careers go, it can
Something nice. Like part of a door, maybe?
as far as careers go, it's not bad to not hate your job every minute of it. Kind of helps if you like doing it. Which I'm fairly confident that even if I don't love it 100% of the time, I'm not going to hate it. And it won't feel dead end to me, which is kind of important. However, I'm not going to just give up on my YouTube channel. Even though I'm going to be dedicating a lot of time towards making sure I make progress in my career. Like I said last time, I still really enjoy doing this. And if I can make this my career, that would be fantastic. If I can't, it's not the end of the world, and that this is a great hobby. Like punching a watermelon. Oh, that's fun. I would love to have this be my career, but I'm not counting on it. And therefore, I think pilot school is going to be my best bet. I'm also going to continue working on my information technologies certifications. I'm going to get networking certifications, A+ certifications. I'm going to work on cybersecurity and network security analyst certifications, which I already have, I just haven't done the coursework yet. And a lot of that's because I don't have time for it, but I'm going to stop using that as an excuse. Mainly because I'm also tired of hearing myself bitch about it. And I figured the people who are close to me probably are too. And if they aren't, then good on them. But I'm tired of hearing it in my own brain, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I'm just gonna pick my shit up and move on. After my last video, I did get a lot of people saying that they support me in whatever I do, and honestly, that means a lot because, honestly, I wasn't making that video asking for support or anything. I was more just telling people who haven't had the opportunity to, like, be in my mind very often to know what was going on and why I wasn't talking to them. And it really means a lot because, like I said, I wasn't asking for help or anything. I was just trying to rationalize my own thoughts in my head. And it actually helped my... It helped with my whole internal dilemma, just knowing that there were people who were willing to step up and be the support that I needed. I completely lost my train of thought. Let's go ahead and give him at the MX-9 too. Let's see here. I've also got a lot of questions. How do you know that you want to marry my girlfriend? And honestly, it's not real hard to figure out with her. She's pretty fucking awesome in every sense of the word. I mean, hell, she's even supportive of the whole YouTube channel thing. And she even sits there and, I don't know, we have a very, I'm gonna say fluid. We have a very fluid relationship. There's a lot of talking, there's a lot of, support that happens. Really, no matter what's going on at the moment. And it's pretty amazing. I'm very lucky to have her. Otherwise, I would not have made it this far. Because, trust me guys, she does a lot for me. And I try to do a lot for her as well. I don't try to make this a one-sided thing where I just need support from everybody. A lot of my time is actually spent making sure everyone else is doing alright. I don't like to see people I care about struggle. And, that's why I'm always available if, I mean, even viewers need to talk to me. I love making friends. I'm not gonna sit here and decline questions or at requests for advice just because, I don't know, I think I'm better than you or something, because I don't. Everyone is human, everybody needs some sort of support, and sometimes people who have no idea what's going on with your life can be the best forms of support. Stop it. For my next part of my rant, I fucking hate the state of California. It is ridiculous what it's getting away with right now. For at this moment, I'm going to focus on the whole fire insurance thing. So if you're not from California, you may not be aware of what's been going on. I mean, obviously you've seen that we've had some really bad wildfires recently, but I kind of want you to know that California has been going through the process of running out insurance companies from the state, and not only is that a problem for capitalism, because businesses can't succeed when a governing body tries to take too much control. That's why socialism doesn't work. And when it comes down to it, ow, governments aren't meant for running businesses. They aren't. That's not what they're for. They're for, it. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. That's just not what they're for. And so, California has instituted this thing called California Fair, and I use quotation marks around the word fair because what it does is it provides everyone with a way to have fire insurance, because insurance companies have all but left the state when it comes to fire insurance, because this state catches on fire so often, and California has imposed some sort of rule with them that prevents them from having easy access to funds and policies. I'm also speaking out of my ass, but I do sort of know what I'm talking about, because I work in an industry where people are insurance dropped by their insurance company, and the only thing that's left is California Fair, which, if you've ever taken economics, you know that the state of California has just created a monopoly on fire insurance. And if you're familiar with the American government, we have instituted rules that are against the creation of monopolies, because it suffocates capitalism. It doesn't allow anyone to compete if there's only one entity. And obviously, you can see how that might be a bit of a problem when people rely on fire insurance to make sure that they aren't completely screwed if their house burns down in a fire. You'd think that lots of people would be willing to help, but what the state of California has done has made it so that they're the only ones that will be there to help in the event of a wildfire that results in your house being torched. And I've had my own family be dropped for their fire insurance. I've had friends, coworkers, customers, people I don't know coming in and telling me that they're now having to pay way more than they should for fire insurance. And honestly, I'm wondering why the people of California can't understand that every time they vote on a new tax and a new law that prevents like fire insurance companies or insurance companies giving better rates, I don't understand how they don't see that they're creating a bigger problem for themselves. Every time you impose a new tax, it takes more money away from you, and you don't get that money back. That money is not coming back for you. This state is a dictatorship. No matter, like, if you're on the opposing side of the Democrat Party right now, I'm not even just saying Republicans, I'm saying libertarians, anarchists. Not that I support anarchism, it's a really, really dumb idea. But I'm just saying that is a political party that does exist. It's not heard very often. I'm trying to remember the other parties. Because the main two are the Republicans and the Democrats. But there are more than two political parties in the United States. If you are anyone who opposes anything that the Democrats impose in this state specifically, I'm not talking about in the US, I'm not getting political with who the president is, that's not what's happening here. This is purely the state of California. It is currently a dictatorship in that if you oppose the Democratic Party in any way, they will make your job more difficult and they will turn you into the bad guy. And your political party could be in charge, but there are so many people who are fooled into thinking that the Democratic Party in this state will save them that they just keep fueling this tyranny. And they say that it's our president doing it, but when it comes down to it, they're just too blind to see that they're the ones paying more and more money to a political party that is purely thieves. They bank off the fact that you want to help social systems, and yet they don't understand that the social systems are being taken out of your paycheck, and you will not see that money ever again. Another example of this whole dictatorship sort of thing, and just an unjust, unbalanced system that the government was supposed to... Come on, you slut. Anybody who is supposed to try and anybody who's trying to oppose it gets run down by politicians who purely want their agenda to thrive. And I'm going to say this because I live in Northern California, alright? Now, some people may say that's redneck state, when in reality it's just rural. Everybody's hardworking. Well, not everybody, but almost everyone is hardworking. They try and keep things as civilized as possible. For the most part, I mean, there are always exceptions to my statements. Get off me. And it's ridiculous because on my way down to Los Angeles to visit family, I witnessed on the side of a major freeway that Southern California wants to tax Northern Californians on their water. How does that seem fair? Instead of paying for it in any other situation, they're taxing it from us. And that's currently one of the things that they're trying to vote on. And when it comes down to it, the people in Northern California aren't going to be able to win because the people in Southern California outnumber them so much. It's a ridiculous idea that we should have to fight voting-wise against such a large population of people. And now they say we need that water because we have most of the farms, we have more people. When it comes down to it, that doesn't make sense. Because they don't they don't have more farms than we do. Northern California is where all of those farms are. Um, and just because they have more people, that's just because that's where they've congregated. When in reality, hardly anything from Southern California actually benefits Northern California. And instead of just, I don't know, there are probably better ways of describing it, but instead of just asking for the water or paying for it like they should be doing, um, they're taxing it from us. But once again, the the people of California are never going to see that money, and they're not going to see that water either, because um, because when it comes down to it, that canal that transports all that water down to Southern California, it's it's uncovered. It has to be treated in two places before it goes down because Southern California doesn't trust our water, which seems a little ridiculous. And when it gets down there, because by the time it gets down there, it's hills of farms and it's right next to the freeway. And I don't understand why they're not going to cover the canal. They're not going to anything. Um, it's maddening to watch people who supposedly live in the same state as you try and take try to take something from you and not even make sure that it gets to where it needs to go. It's just absolutely maddening. Because you go, why bother taking it from us if you're only going to get half of it anyway? And you're not even putting those funds to good use. Because when it comes down to it, the tax money that they're going to be taxing Northern California, I don't know, desalination plants, they're right on the ocean. So why are we having our limited water supply being taken when they have an unlimited water supply next to them, when we've figured out how to pretty much mainstream that process? It's not all that hard, and we have nuclear power plants along the ocean already, so I don't want to hear any bullshit like the ocean near Southern California isn't viable or anything. I don't want to hear it, because when it comes down to it, it is. Oh, this is going to be a problem. Oh, that's a lot of assholes. Okay. It's the same thing with gun control laws in the state. They're worried about all of their situation down there, when in reality, it only affects them down there. We have different issues. We have our livestock that we need to take care of. We have our livestock. We have We just have different situations. I, I'm getting distracted by the game. It's not just our livestock that we need to protect against. Um, what else was I trying to say? I wasn't trying to get into gun control at all. But when it comes down to it, it doesn't need to be touched. It needs to...
Kentucky bourbon, maybe a team of Russian dancers.
What? It doesn't need to be touched. It's not a solution to anything. It's not going to be a solution. Because even if we take away guns, people are still going to figure out how to kill people. We've been doing it since the beginning of time. It's nothing new. And guns don't even make it more mainstream. People in China and Japan have been stabbing people faster than... and performing higher fatality rates, honestly, than guns do, and it's insane. Knives cause a lot of damage when it comes down to it, and bullets, most of the time, those people survive. But we also have an issue in this country with not just... actually, I'm going to say this for the Canadians watching this. It is not our healthcare that's the problem. It's the insurance companies that are left unchecked. Because insurance happens when one person goes, I'm not going to pay all of this, so you can cover the rest. That cost just doesn't go away. It gets passed on to the next person. And then the next person. And then the next person. And that's not what insurance companies were supposed to do from the beginning. It's just how they figured out how to make more money, which, when it comes down to it, is pretty disappointing that that they would just, I don't know, screw somebody else over because someone else didn't feel like paying it. There's a lot of tossed aside because they think they can. And it's actually not just insurance companies, it's a lot of companies in this day and age that when it comes down to it, responsibility isn't being taken for anybody anymore. It's the same thing with these Black Lives Matter protests and all of that. It's lack of responsibility that's being taken, not police officer policies or I'm gonna finish talking about that because it makes me angry that people don't realize that it's their lack of responsibility that gets them shot, not police officers being evil. Police officers are people too. And frankly, who's to say that you wouldn't shoot someone in that same exact scenario? It's maddening that people can't understand that they don't get to have an opinion on a situation that they know nothing about. And that's a very unpopular opinion that I just voiced right there, but I'm gonna stand by it. And frankly, I don't really care if you disagree with me, because deep down, I do have a law enforcement family, and I do have law enforcement friends, and it goes the other way too. I do have friends who, that don't appreciate the police, and I think it's ironic that every time something goes wrong, though, they still say, go to the police. I think hypocrisy needs to stop being the main form of communication now. I think responsibility needs to be taken, or this world is going to get a lot worse. It's the same thing with anti-vaxxers not vaccinating their children. I think that's child abuse. because what you're doing by not getting them vaccinated is basically saying, I don't really care whether or not you die, I just don't want to pay for this vaccine. That's all. Pay for a medical procedure that could prevent an unnecessary death. And if you really don't want children, don't have children. Go get, I don't know, go get your tubes tied, or go get a vasectomy. I don't care. Just don't bring someone in this world just to kill them. If we were going to do that, we'd have armies of clones by now. It's really not cool. And, I don't know. This society right now pisses me off, because when it comes down to it, it's a bunch of people fighting to make their opinion the most important, which is wrong. No one's opinion is more important than anyone else's. It's just that that opinions are just becoming so streamlined that people are finding ridiculous and outlandish ways of voicing theirs, that their opinion becomes a joke, and then they get offended about it, and then it becomes a fight rather than a conversation. I had someone on my frickin' Snapchat, they said, they were supporting, Black Lives Matter, a protest going on that said, no justice, no peace, fuck the police. And I said, it's sad that you can't see that it's not the police's fault that these are happening. It's a culture that has gone unchecked. It's a culture of criminalization. And I'm gonna say it, and it's not gonna be a very popular opinion, but it's not just black people getting arrested for these things. It's the media that's only reporting on the black people. If you go ahead and look in prison systems as well, you're going to see a very high rate of white people being arrested too. And honestly, white people get shot a lot more than black people do. It's because your population's lower, but the media only reports on the black people getting shot. And they're also not reporting on why they got shot. They're saying it's an unjust thing, when in reality, police officers are there for a reason, and if you can't respect that authority, then there are going to be consequences. But then when you try to physically attack that authority, or steal equipment, or anything, honestly, if you're going to threaten a police officer's life, he's going to fire back. Any one of you would do it. Anybody who says that they'd just kick him and punch him until they got their way, like, that's not how people work. I mean, look at MMA fighters. Look how many hits they can take before they're look how many hits they can take before they go down. And then you multiply that by someone who's on PCP, who it takes 17 bullets to put them down. It's unrealistic. And it's time for this hypocrisy to end, because I want to put a whole bunch of people in that situation so they understand that their opinions aren't accurate at all. There are plenty of videos of people just walking through tasers like it's nobody's business. And it's unrealistic to think that police officers' lives are any less important than a criminal's. And honestly, we have societal rules for a reason. Um, it, why can't people just follow the rules of society? If they have a real problem with it, then take it up with the politicians that are imposing the taxes that made you poor and caused you to rob. Or take it up with the um, take it up with the leadership you imposed that has made it okay for people to, if you do anything in self-defense, they're going to arrest you instead. Take a look at it before you just assume that it's the police's fault. That's all I'm asking. And I will agree with you, there are some cops who are racist, but we're all racist deep down. I'm not perfect, but the things I see kind of sway my opinion, and I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, you're no better than I am. And I'm not going to blame you for it, because I know we all have our issues. I am getting real tired of going down. Alright, that's that part of that rant. On the bright side, my whole monetary situation is going to be sort of fixed, but at the cost of any and all free time that I would have had this week. I recently picked up almost all of the shifts from a coworker who is moving on to his own store. He just got his own store, and I wanted to say congratulations on here. I know he's not going to see it, but that's still like a really cool thing. He worked his way up, and he got to where he wanted to be. And the even cooler part about that is he's not from this country. He put in the time, and he made it to some place where he could thrive. And I think that's really cool, because he put in the work, and he put in the time, and he got to move up. And I find that very honorable. And sometimes I didn't agree with him as a person. Actually, a lot of the times. Because he had different values and different ways of doing things, and a lot of the times I didn't agree with him. His opinions often made me angry because, well, a lot of the time they were just plain rude. But when it comes down to it, he still put in the work, and I respect him for putting in the work necessary to move up in life. Because that's what matters to me more than whatever religion or race you are. I don't care. We're all the human race. Religion is something that we all need to get through this life. If we need some sort of higher power to believe in order to help us get through the day, then so be it. I'm not judging anybody for it. And I think it's really cool. But I picked up all of his shifts, so I am working 2 jobs solid this next week. It's going to be very exhausting. Let's see here. I think I'm working something like 65 or 70 hours this week. And then I also recently had a bunch of people in my neighborhood come to me and ask me for work, which I think is a perfect example of how a reputation can spread and benefit someone if you work hard enough to make your reputation public. Because I did. I worked very hard for a lot of people in the neighborhood, and now I'm having complete strangers asking me for help working. And I think I'm going to take them up on that offer. Even though it's going to push me to the absolute limits, I think I'm going to do it because, one, they need help, and two, you know, it's not all that bad. It's not all that hard to just go to work for a little while longer. Because if it comes down to me being a little bit more tired and having a little bit more money in the bank, so be it. I'm not gonna complain. If anything, I'll just sleep better at night because I'm more tired. And how we act now, and I'm working on mine every day. My struggle with depression often sets me back, I'm not gonna lie. It makes me sound like a hypocrite with my outlook talks, but when it comes down to it, it usually takes me a little while to be able to believe myself. Which is kind of a sad problem to have. You should be able to believe yourself no matter what. But stop fucking trying to eat me. That's funny. Like Outlook, honestly, it's how I've gotten through these past few days at work. I've stopped looking at time as time and dollar amounts. So if I've got an hour left, I have $12 left before I can go home. I've got to make $12 more. And that's kind of a trick that I've been using. I use it when I work out too. Instead of doing 50 reps, I do 5 counts of 10, and it sort of just, it kind of just tricks me into being able to withstand it, because I go, with 10, that's easy. And honestly, I think that's how I'm going to get through this next week of work, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see if I'm going to be able to live up to what I'm preaching right now, because I think that's important, is practice what you preach, and if you don't, then why listen to that person? I do my best to try and make sure that everyone I know is strong and as capable as I know that it can be. And when it comes, son of a bitch. I definitely would have lost this by now, but I put it onto Infinite Downs because, funny enough, I got a copyright strike on my last video because Activision saw that their intro scene for this level was in it, and they immediately copyrighted it. But they don't even care that I'm a small channel and that I wasn't making any money off of them in the first place. They just wanted to automatically do it, and whatever. I don't care. Copyright it all you want. I'm not making any money, and you couldn't even hear the intro, and I'm not using it to I was gonna say spread any propaganda, but I guess this entire rant has been sort of propaganda, but not really. So yeah, I'm just finally being able to voice my opinions on a platform that's going to, well, probably get me a lot of hate, but in reality, I don't really care.
And empty. Shit.
Um, where is the Pack-a-Punch on this map? Oh, gotta run up this way. Like, what? Um...
Don't worry about it, fellas. All good.
Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought because I'm just trying to survive here.
Come on, you fucks! Who else wants to take a bite? Okay, done. I'm over it.
Uh-oh.
That was a cheap shot.
Oops. Um... You know what? I'm just gonna start my next rant because I have no idea what I was talking about just now. Um, somebody asked me. They don't live in California, so I, I answered them perfectly honestly. They asked me, why do you have two jobs? Like, why put yourself through that much stress, that much damage to your body? Why would you do that if you can just work one job? And I can't. Because in order to live in the state of California, you have to be willing to do whatever it takes in order to pay your rent. Otherwise, you become homeless. No one wants to hire you because you're not able to take care of yourself. You don't have a vehicle, you don't have a phone. That means you can't be contacted, and you don't have reliable transportation to get to that work. Now, there is no reason you should be you shouldn't be able to work just one job and live. However, it is all of the extra taxes that this state takes out of your paycheck for ridiculous things. For instance, if the current governor gets his way, he will be taxing drinking water. Well, there's already a tax on bottled water. Is this instead? No. This is also. And to this point, it's becoming it's becoming a little ridiculous because it's becoming a fight to survive in this state, and there's no reason for it to be. We produce so much of the U.S.'s food supply that no one in this state should be going hungry. However, there are. The people in this state that are homeless. Some of them can't afford homes, but some of them also choose to be homeless because it actually makes them more money than going and getting a job. And newsflash, homelessness can't be taxed, but when you give your money, just plain money, to a homeless person, you're not going to see that money back. There's no way that money comes back to you. Because whether or not they're spending on food or alcohol, that's you may or may not be fueling a bad habit for them. But you're also just throwing away money. Because nothing says that they have to spend it in a way that they can, that money will get back to you. Because if you live in a normal society where you pay for things and you go to work and earn money, then that money should be coming back around to you pretty quick. Because you work, you pay for it, you fuel the economy. But the more taxes you impose, and then the more money you throw away by just giving it to homeless people instead of doing things like buying them food or water or clothing that they may need, they can just take that money for a while and you won't ever see it. And it's kind of amazing how many people who are in charge of our government's economy didn't pass economics, clearly, because things like just tons of homeless shelters, there are tons of people who don't even want to live in those because they can't deal with authority. And it's maddening that people still go along with this whole platform of, yes, let's go ahead and save the homeless by fueling houses for them, when the people who are truly homeless and want houses are already in their shelters. The people who don't are still out in the streets taking your money. And I mean, it makes everything so much safer when you don't give them money. When we force them to go to the programs that we are funding for them, it makes things safer. Because if people are resistant to authority and they don't want to go to shelters, then they need to go to the hospital, because something is fundamentally wrong with them where they believe that homelessness is better than and it's also aggravating that a lot of my tax money that I work very hard for, that you can obviously see, hence the reason why I'm about to go work 75 hours this week, is because a lot of my money goes to taxes for fueling programs that don't benefit me. They say they benefit me, but in reality, they don't. None of these programs are coming back to benefit me. And it's about time that the American taxpayer realizes they're not being taken care of anymore, they're being exploited. And for the most part, California and New York, those are the biggest proprietors of this. And they're trying to turn Texas into that kind of state, because they realize they turned this state into a shithole, and then they flee to another state. But then they keep voting to turn that one into a shithole too. So it's like, why can't you see what you're doing? Because you could solve all your problems right now. Alright, that's all the time I have for today. But thank you for listening to my rant. If you agree with me, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you want to keep hearing content like this, go ahead and obviously subscribe. But also leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. If you don't agree with me, but you want to have a conversation, your best bet is not unloading on me. Try talking things out respectfully first, and you might have a better option, or you might have a better response. Whereas if you just kind of insult me and my opinions, there's a good chance I'm just gonna ignore you, because people want to be heard and conversed with, not yelled at and abused. I mean, if you haven't figured that out by now, God help you, because if you haven't figured it out by now, chances are you won't figure it out. And that's sad that you can't be a respectful member of society, and chances are you're probably part of the problem. But if you know how to have a conversation and you still disagree with me, hit me up. I'm all for having a conversation. What a conversation is for. Um, but no one likes being yelled at. No one likes being insulted. And if you found personal offense in this video, stop watching. You knew what we were. You knew who we were. You knew exactly who we were when you started watching us. And if you didn't, then I'm sorry this is how you had to find out, but I'm not going to apologize for the content me and my friends make. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. Have a great evening, everybody.